Hey there people, today I got a Super Nintendo from eBay for 15 euros. It seems to work just fine, I already tested it, but it is yellow and it smells like burnt circuits. So the first thing I'm gonna do is tear apart this Super Nintendo, and the very first thing is take off these felt pads here. They are not original. The only problem is I don't have the tool to open the Super Nintendo, so I'm using a pen. The idea is to melt the tip of the pen to get the plastic, get the shape of the screw and take it off. The only problem is that I was able to take off just one, because the screw were tightened too much. But in the end you can see I was able to remove all the screws, but to do so I had to make a little tool out of metal. So I proceed to take the Super Nintendo apart, starting from this little door here that I shoot into oblivion, and then I will remove the rubber pads too, really carefully, getting help with the heat gun. So I'm gonna preheat them and carefully remove them. They are a little bit sticky, and to fix this we're gonna use some talcum powder later. Now that we took off all the pads here, let's take a look at the inside of the board. So I already took it apart, and I must say that the smell of burns has already in part gone away. So now to dig deeper, we're gonna remove every part of the Super Nintendo, starting from the ejection system here, being extra careful to not lose the spring. I'm now gonna remove the controller hub here from the system. It looks pretty clean and kinda new, to be honest, so I don't think it has any problem. I'm gonna now remove the lock system of the cartridge, which is this little piece of plastic here, which basically locks your cartridge in place so you can't remove it while your Super Nintendo is powered on. Now I'm gonna carefully remove every piece of plastic here that has remained on the case, starting from the reset button and the eject button, because the power button is stuck in place from this plate here, the darker gray plate. So by removing the eject button, we can now proceed and remove the plating that holds the power button. And for the top side, we are pretty much done here. Let's now get to the power switch and the board itself. So after unscrewing the power switch, I'm gonna safely unplug it from the board. Now I can proceed to remove this plate here, this aluminum plate that covers the front chips. Let's now remove the board from the plastic casing by unscrewing the last screw. Now that all screws are removed, I can safely take off the board from the casing. For the year it was made, I must say this board is pretty solid and mesmerizing. There's also no sign of burnt chips or circuits, short circuit, or anything like that. It looks pretty new to me, so I don't understand where the smells come from. I'm gonna inspect the board further by removing this heatsink here. But before doing this, let's wash the plastic parts. This is really important to remove any dust or anything like that for retrobriting, but also because of the bad smell of the burnt chips. I also cleaned where the pads were, and then I also put the pads in alcohol and water. So while everything else is drying, I'm gonna prepare my Nintendo for retrobriting by applying my hydrogen peroxide mix. After I applied enough hydrogen peroxide, I wrapped it in kitchen film and put it under UV light until morning. The next morning I put it into the sun. As you can see, it is coming out pretty well already. Unfortunately, I damaged the plastic while cleaning, so there is a little piece of plastic I'm whitening. In the meantime, I left the pads in talcum powder so it will be less sticky, and I left them for a day or so. Now, while everything else dries, I'm gonna clean the board with some alcohol and understand where the smell comes from and try to remove it completely. So after cleaning the board, I proceed to remove the heatsink, just to find out that there is some kind of flux or glue on the board, and also inside the antenna box here there is a smell of burnt. So I'm just gonna try to cover it up by cleaning and applying new flux and reflowing the board. So after doing all of that, the smell seems to have gone completely and the board just smells neutral. Perfect. I'm gonna now put all back and hope it does not smell anymore. So now that I finished retrobriting, I washed the plastic again, and now I'm checking if there is any residue of hydrogen peroxide. So I'm now ready to glue back the piece I broke. This is the part I broke, and I fixed it by applying some glue, which is a glue for screen repairing for phones. Now, while this is drying off, I'm gonna also glue back the pads here, which I flipped it over on the good side, and the other side is still a little bit sticky, but the good side it is not. So I'm gonna glue them on this side and they're gonna be fine. Every pad is glued and let's wait for it to dry. While it dries, I'm gonna place back everything inside the Nintendo. Starting from these little things here for the screw. Then I'm gonna put back the board itself. And then proceed to connect back the switch and also put back the metal casing, the controller hub and the eject system. Moving to the top side, we're gonna put back everything, starting from the lock system. Then the reset button, the power button, this little piece of the power button, the LED light, and then the front plate. After everything is in place, I can now finally apply the eject button and put the Nintendo back together. I covered back the slot and I did some sanding to the plastic I broke. I can now put back all the screws and we are ready to take this beast for a test. So let's put in a Super Mario cartridge and let's connect it to the TV. As you can see, it works just fine and it's beautiful. Thank you for watching from Cybe's Everything.